Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast, where we focus our lens on business. We will cover the art of business and everything in between. Join your host, Rob Moorman, a seasoned photographer and RV park owner with over 27 years of experience, as he captures insights from industry experts and fellow entrepreneurs. From mastering customer service to igniting creativity, we explore the common threads that weave through successful businesses. Get ready to click, snap, and discover on the Camera Dude Podcast.
Welcome to the Camera Dude Podcast. I'm Rob Moorman, your host. Join us as we dive into all things business and life. Hey guys, let's get started. Today's guest is a young professional already making waves in the financial world. He is currently an audit associate at Fraser and Dieter, one of the nation's top CPA and advisory firms. He's part of the next generation of leaders, bringing analytical skill, discipline, and a fresh approach to business and client service. Please welcome Hunter Seagraves.
What's going on, guys? Happy to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. I'm glad to have you. So we met. I was photographing an event for you guys.
Yeah.
And I have to say I was highly impressed with you and your associate there. And we just were kind of, when things slowed down, talking a little bit. And that led to me hitting you up to do a podcast. So
yeah.
I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, that was a good day. Funny story about that event, actually. So that event was like a client open house type party for, some of the clients we work with in service. And it's typically like a manager role and above, that's mainly who has as our main point of contact with the client.
Okay.
And so, last year when I started, I heard about this party and I told my boss, I was like, hey man, if you need help with that stuff, let me know, I'll be happy to help set up tables and, break them down when it's over and things like that. And he was like, okay, cool. Yeah, you can go. So last year when I went, I just assumed the role of the doorman.
Okay.
Kind of just passing out name tags and stuff. Yeah. Right. I mean, so I did that last year and it went really well. And, it gives me a good chance to meet and talk to some people across, our departments at the firm, and see some of the clients and stuff. So that was really cool. So that was last year. And then this year, we, had it again and, he gave me the invite. He was like, hey, we want you back. And
cool.
Now we're here.
Awesome. Okay. I love that. Well, I'm glad that you were there because I have to say when I walked in the door, even as a vendor, I got a big hello and greeting and smile from you.
Yeah, man.
And that was my first event with you guys. I was referred to you from another photographer, a good friend of mine.
Yeah.
He wasn't available that day, traveling or whatever. And so
yeah.
I filled in. And all of a sudden, now here we are. So
exactly.
That worked out pretty well.
Yeah.
It sounds to me, because this podcast is about business and life, in general.
Definitely.
But it sounds to me by you, the first time you did it, you volunteered. Hey, boss, I'm here. I'll do this.
Yeah.
Which let him see you and let him understand that you're a willing participant and you actually care and you want to give back to the company you're working for and be part of the game. That's part of aligning yourself up. And and that's what I saw in you when we talked. I'm like, oh, this guy's on his game. But hey, before we go too deep, tell me a little bit about you. What's your family background?
Yeah. So family background. So I'm a middle child, older brother, younger brother.
All right.
From a modest town in Indiana called Muncie, Indiana.
Oh, yeah.
About 70,000 people. It's nothing fancy, Midwest town. Outside of the immediate city, it's just cornfields, and so that was the area I grew up in. My mom and dad both lived there in the same city their whole lives. My dad's parents, actually pretty interesting. They're a pastor and a pastor's wife, so I kind of grew up in a church a little bit. And then on my mom's side, my grandma had my mom when she was 18. So and at the time, my grandma, she didn't have her parents at the time, so my mom grew up, single mother, 18. And then, my parents crossed paths in Muncie, and then they had, us, my siblings and I. And so we kind of grew up there, and very modest though,
Yeah.
Modest area. Good people though, in the city I grew up in, and just the people in my family, individuals from all across the board, wow. wild individuals, some interesting characters. So growing up, just with my family in the area I grew up in, I definitely got to see a wide variety of people, which has kind of given me
I can tell, even though you said single mom and all of those things,
Yeah.
your mom did a good job raising you, and or the rest of the family as well, grandparents or whoever jumped in. So.
Yeah.
Because you're motivated.
Debatable. Yeah.
Well, I understand because I have details in my life and relationships with parents, and I can tell you stories too. But in the long run, here I am.
Yeah.
And
right here.
and I'm not in prison. I'm not in the street.
Yeah.
And same for you. You're pushing through, and you have
Absolutely.
a passion to prove yourself, which you've probably already done, really. And now you're just climbing that ladder. Absolutely. So, what education? You went to school?
Yeah. So in the city I grew up in, there's a college there called Ball State University.
Cool.
Not a small school, not a big school. About 20,000 kids, and so that college is what really keeps the town afloat. So I grew up in Muncie, Indiana. Went to school there, and started in finance, and I didn't really like it. So when you're at Ball State, if you start in the finance, start trying to get your finance degree, you have to take accounting classes as well.
Oh, okay, sure.
So I was taking some accounting classes, and I was good at it. I kind of liked it. Like, I remember before I started taking those classes, some of my older friends, they were like, dude, I got a D in this accounting class. Like, it sucked. This professor sucked. And I was nervous about it. And then I started, taking these classes, and I'm like, this really isn't that bad. I mean, it's
cool.
Certainly a good amount of work compared to my other classes. But so that's kind of how I got started in accounting. So I was, a sophomore, and in my sophomore year, I was still a finance major, and I didn't like it necessarily. I mean, I felt like the classes I was taking, I'm like, I don't know how to really apply this. And at the time I was looking for internships, and there was not really a ton of like finance related internships.
Okay.
So I had like a change of heart, and I was like, you know what? I went to my advisor, and I was like, I want to change to be an accounting major. And they're like, you're so close to being done. I mean, like, I was on track to graduate like a year early. They're like, you're so close. You would almost have to take a step back, and it would be such a pain scheduling, changing your schedule to be an accounting major now. And I was like, well, I want to do that. And so then ended up finishing out pretty strong. Made good friends with a lot of my classmates. Because like the accounting, like I said, at Ball State, it's not necessarily a huge school. So I had, the last 2 years, I had a lot of, the same people in all my classes, really. So I got to, get pretty close with them. And it's cool now that I've started working, seeing where everybody's ended up at, who's earned their CPA designation, or who's moved jobs, et cetera, or who's still killing it at this one job. So
are any of them still hanging out at the bar on the weekend instead of work? I mean,
well, no, definitely, right? I mean, definitely.
So
but I still
see a variable across the board of success and
Totally.
drive in everybody. Yeah.
Totally. And since I changed majors, so I had friends from other majors too. So like I have friends outside of the accounting discipline. So my education experience was cool. Like, I got to meet and hang out with a ton of people across the board in the business school. And so yeah, ended up finishing out as an accounting major. And funny story. So like I said, I went to school in Indiana, Ball State University. But we're here in St. Petersburg, Florida. So senior year, I had a job lined up to work in Indianapolis. And I was on LinkedIn, and I was kind of just looking at job postings across, like, I forget the specific search I used, but I was just looking for accounting jobs kind of wherever I could, right? I was like, let me just apply to some of these and see what traction I get. And I applied with the company I work for now. And, I had the interview set up and everything. And I was like, I might as well just go to this, it's virtual. So I was like, I might as well just go to this interview and see what happens. So went to that interview, got some traction. And, I was like, well, this is a real possibility that I could, that I move, and I change up, the job I currently had accepted. I'm like, there's a real possibility. So
cool.
I got some traction there, interviewed with the team who I work with now. It was funny. So like I went through several rounds of interviews, and they were like, all right, we'll call you back within 2 weeks to let you know if you got the job or not. So I was like, okay, cool. So 3 weeks go by. I don't hear anything. So I go, man, I guess I didn't get that one. So that's fine. So I remember I was at the library studying for an accounting test, and it's crappy weather. I mean, it's raining, and in Indiana, I mean, this was like March or
Well,
February.
that's fitting. Yeah.
So it's cold too. So I was at the library studying for a test. I got to a good stopping point. I was walking back home. It's raining. I have my hood up, just whatever. And I get a call from an unknown number, and it was from Tampa, Florida. So I was like, maybe this is,
Nice.
Yep. Answered it, and they're like, "Hey, Hunter, we just want to let you know that we were going to offer you the position." And so and so. And then I remember I hung up the phone, and it was like a scene out of a movie. I was like, dang, like I have a real chance to change my life now. And it's funny. So it's like I said, it's pouring rain, it's cold. I'm walking home, and I see this guy. He's driving by, and he stops, and he's like, "Hey, Hunter, do you want to ride?" And I was like so overcome with like joy, and like happiness that I just got this job. And I was like, I just wanted to just walk home. I just wanted to finish my walk home. Cool. And I was like, no, I'm good, man. Like, I'm just going to keep walking. He looked at me. He's like, dude, it's raining and it's cold. He's like, what's your problem? And I'm like, I told him, I was like, I just got some good news and I want to like soak it in a little bit. And he was like, all right. And then like,
that's cool.
Yeah. Like that same weekend or like maybe a weekend after I see him at like one of the bars and he's like, dude, like, do you have a problem with me? He's like, why didn't you take my ride home that one day? It was raining and cold. And I was like, I told him the story of what I just told you. And I was like, I just actually got a job offer and I was just wanted to soak it in. So
that's cool. What I see from you, because this podcast is about learning through conversation, I call it education through conversation, is you lining yourself up to the successful point that you're at, which always never ends. You're constantly lining yourself up until the day you quit working. And even then, just on a life level, you're lining yourself up to live. And you've done that. So you did your high school run, you went to college, you went deep into it, decided you needed a change, but that's okay. You were looking forward. It's never a failure. I always tell everybody that there's more failures in successful people's lives than there are the success.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
just the success that gets all the glory and light from everybody that sees them and wants to be them now because they've done that. So you've already taken this huge path to align yourself up, get educated, realized through the education process that the first attempt wasn't what you were looking for. I think being a financial advisor and all of that would be hard. I think that's a hard sell.
Definitely.
I think it's hard to get people to sit down and want to talk with you and make change and all of that. Because the guys I know that are doing it, it's hard. They have to get over the hump of, let me look at all your numbers. Well, now I got to go pull everything. Now I've got to stop working. Now I've got to sit with you. And now there's maybe a high pressure sales situation. And most people just don't even get into it. They're like, nope, I'm out.
Yeah.
So it's a hard sell.
Definitely.
Well, accounting, everybody in business needs that. Every company, every personal individual usually needs it because we don't know the laws. I don't know the changing taxes and all of that stuff. I don't want to. I'm a photographer. That's what, and nowadays a podcaster on top of that.
Yeah.
But I just, that's you. That's why you're aligning yourself up kind of in a company that does that for others. So before we go farther, another question, just for sake of time.
Definitely.
What do you do for fun? What are your hobbies, passion, kayaking, scuba diving? What do you got? What's in the bag?
Yeah. So I'm pretty straightforward with my hobbies. I enjoy running, jogging, walking. I enjoy lifting weights.
Okay.
But right now, my biggest hobby by far is golf.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I picked it up several years ago. So my friends in high school, they all golfed. I didn't pick it up. And it was like 3 or 4 summers ago. I just tagged along with them golfing. And I hit one good shot. And I was like, hooked after that. So I spent a lot of time getting lessons, going to the range, and then golfing with my friends. And now it's like the number one hobby that I have.
Well, I have an episode you need to listen to. My good friend Bobby Van Sweden, if you haven't heard it yet.
Okay.
He came from a life in rock and roll. He was a stage manager for years for bands you would know, people that you would get their autograph for. He's like got them on speed dial on his phone.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. And anyhow, having said that, he opened a golf shop later, got married, slowed down, got off the road.
Yeah.
and he does personal private fitting and all that
Oh, cool.
stuff. So yeah, look for his episode on the list of podcasts
Yeah.
for us.
I need to get fit for some new clubs. I got this old set of clubs that my uncle gave me.
Cool.
And with how much I play, everybody always dogs on me. They're like, dude, when are you gonna buy some new clubs? Like these are
Just Bobby Van Sweden Golf, and
Yeah.
afterwards I'll get you connected with him.
Okay.
For our listeners, I'll do a drop in the bio and all of that so that they can find him
Sounds
as well
good.
as you.
Yeah.
So before we move on, I like to do this twice. So how do people find your work, your accounting firm? What's the website? We'll do it again later.
Yeah. I don't personally have any work that I do on my own.
Okay.
But the firm I work for is called Fraser and Dieter.
Sure. But that's good support for them.
Totally.
Right? Taking
Yeah.
care of who's taking care of you. And
Totally.
so,
Absolutely.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. But I wanted to circle back to another big hobby of mine. Is anything really related to like self-improvement, like learning anything that I'm interested in, optimizing my health, and trying to build good habits to basically become like a well-oiled machine, be like a fully functioning, maximizing my potential. And that's kind of what I didn't do it for a long time. And that's something that I've really been interested in the last 2-ish years, probably, of like, trying to take care of myself to the best
I love
I can.
I love it. We'll never be perfect at it, but the game is that we're always striving.
Definitely.
Now, don't wear yourself out striving, and don't make it a fashionable statement where you can't appear in the world imperfect, because we are all imperfect.
Oh,
But
I
at the
completely
same
agree.
token, you don't want to sit on the couch and rot away. You've got to
man.
push life forward.
Yeah.
Life in general, not just to mention exercise, but all of it.
Yeah.
Our direction and our relationships with people. That's cool.
Yeah. I'm just like really fascinated with like feeling good, like, this is going to sound dumb, but I'm like, I hate feeling bad. I hate feeling like, have brain fog or just your body doesn't feel good, or, I like feeling good, being like I said, a well-oiled machine.
Well, I was relatively healthy most of my life. Something major happened. I had a father pass away and left behind a sizable estate to manage. I didn't get all of the estate, but I got to manage all of that.
Yeah.
And it took 10 years. And in those 10 years, I was running my studio, his 2 businesses, plus his estate all at the same time. And, I'm a guy with a vocational degree. I don't have a college degree.
Yeah.
But I was running with dogs, big dogs, I like to say, banks and boardrooms and all of that. And I was doing the dance and realized I could do a lot more than I thought, but I let myself go.
Yeah.
So recently, in the last 8 months, I've lost 31 pounds.
Yeah.
I've stopped anything fun, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I feel so good, I don't want to go back.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
I'm not even sipping on beverages anymore. It's different for me. You're younger, you can handle it. But after a certain age, it's like, I just need to leave everything alone.
Absolutely.
And so that's what I've done. Hey, one final thing. You said your parents were oriented in a church, right?
Yeah.
Your father was a leader, pastor, or?
No, my grandfather was.
Grandfather,
Yeah.
forgive me. Okay. So, and it's okay how you answer this. I never judge anyone. Where do you stand with that? Would you have a faith background, a belief, or seeking? Where are you?
So I grew up in a church. I went to a church for a long time. I haven't been to church since I've moved, but definitely still have my faith. I mean, it's so important nowadays, like, especially if you're striving and you have high goals you set out for yourself, there can be a lot of uncertainty in the world and just a number of other things. And so like having something to put your faith in and be like, everything's going to work out fine. I am totally capable of getting to where I want to go and overcoming anything that kind of gets in my way.
It's because we have a rock.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So like having that good system of faith, certainly I would be lying to say if my faith didn't teeter growing up a little bit, as you get older, you kind of question certain things. But
still do, and I'm 59.
Right. But, having that to fall back on, being like, everything's going to work out fine. And if some doesn't, I totally am capable of handling it.
For me, I've found that he always shows up, even though I have all this angst and worry, which it tells us we're not supposed to. But, human nature, we all do it.
Yeah.
Well, listen, this isn't anything, but if you're interested, we worship at Calvary Chapel in St. Petersburg, non-denominational Bible teaching church, worldwide movement. I absolutely love it. So Don't say yes or no, but if you ever want to, just drop a text.
Gotcha.
And we'll meet you there at 9 o'clock or 10.
Cool. Sounds
Or
good.
it's 9 or 11, I guess, something like that.
Yeah.
Calvary Chapel, St. Petersburg on 19. It's actually physically in Pinellas Park now, but it used
Yeah.
to be in St. Pete, so they kept their name. Well, let's get into our questions before we run out of time. What first sparked your interest in accounting and auditing?
Well, like I kind of touched on it earlier.
did.
Yeah. I was just like, I don't want to say I was good at it, but it was something that was interesting to me. Like, I've always been interested in business. Like, in high school and throughout college, I had, I don't know how to word this. Like, I would resell clothes and shoes. Like,
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So you have an entrepreneurial spirit.
Definitely. I mean, in high school it was smaller, but in college I had a pretty sizable thrifted clothing reselling business that I was
Nice.
like, yeah, I got very lucky. So I'll touch on that a little bit, because it kind of ties back into why I was interested in the accounting side of things. But in high school, I would resell like sneakers, like Jordans and anything really that I could flip, and nothing crazy, but you know, at the biggest, you know, I probably had like, I don't know, 50 pairs of shoes that I was, you know, cycling monthly. I have all my spreadsheets and everything still. I need to go back and look at them, but
That's cool.
right? Yeah. So it was mildly successful. I mean,
So what did you, let's back up. It's fascinating that you did that. It shows you
Yeah.
have the spirit. What did you learn?
oh, what did I learn? I guess the biggest lesson that I had learned from starting out in high school was that it is totally possible to like start a business. Like, you know, when you're growing up, you think of starting a business, you have to you know, it has to be this certain way and everything, you know, you got to file out paperwork and stuff. And then you got to get, you know, all these certain things in the line. I'm like, I literally just made an Instagram page and was like, followed other people who were doing the same thing and then just posted shoes for sale and follow me back. So I guess the biggest lesson that I learned was that it is possible. You don't have to be, you know, I was just a regular guy at the time. I had, you know, I was like 15, 16 years old. And I'm like, it's totally possible for you to start something and then to like, you know, to see it through.
I love it. That's an excellent business plan. Just so you know, I used to listen to Anthony Robbins a lot, way back when. You know, he's been around forever, so I'm going back to the '90s. I had bought his cassettes, which is how far back that is.
Tony's the man.
Yeah, and he still is. But I can tell you that he had said, if you want to be successful at something, find somebody that is and mimic them. Well, you did that.
Yeah.
You were selling shoes online. You followed other people and followed their patterns and their marketing visions. I did that in photography. My mentor, who we just recorded with, sat here at this table, and my studio looks exactly like his.
Yeah.
I mean, he knew that going in because I'm in the same town. I told him all that up front. I said, I'm not going anywhere. I was born here.
Yeah.
But I love your work. I want to learn what you do. And he said, it keeps me on my toes, you know. And
That's
so,
awesome.
and he did share. He shared everything. And we've been fast friends ever since. He's now spending time in the garden and making fly fishing ties and, you know, all that stuff.
Yeah.
But, and every once in a while he'll photograph something.
Yeah.
But I'm glad to hear that you did that because to me, that's also an entrepreneurial mindset.
Definitely.
How do I do this?
Yeah.
And there's nobody really to tell
Yeah.
you. You've got to just figure it out.
Right. It was very like unorthodox, you know, like there's only, you know, as a 15, 16, 17-year-old kid, you can only be so professional.
Yeah.
But the biggest lesson that I learned in that was that it's possible to do something like that. So by the time I got to college, I was just a lot more busier. You're living in the dorms and stuff.
There's things to do.
Right. Exactly. So, me and my roommate, it was funny. It's like a typical college story. It's like freshman year, and he's like, "We got to start a business." And I was like, "Well, I kind of have a little." At the time, I had a little bit of like quote unquote air quotes business, experience. So I was like, I like I said, the biggest lesson I learned was that it's possible to do something like that. So we kind of transitioned over to like thrifting clothes, right? And we'd go to like Goodwills and like anything that I literally thought was cool, and I'm like, I could sell this to this person. I would just buy it. You know, you buy it.
So you would buy it with an individual in mind.
Yeah. When I first started, certainly, yeah. And then once
That's so
that,
cool.
we'd do that. You know, we would actually like make trips to Indianapolis and like we would like map out like 8 different spots to hit and go, and we'd pick up a good amount of stuff. And then me and my roommate, we were like I said, I grew up in the town that I went to college in, so like I knew a ton of people from Ball State and just in the area. We made like a private Snapchat story, and like that we would just post clothes on there, and it got the ball rolling for us. And then I remember I was on Facebook one day, and there's this guy out of Indianapolis, who had a I think it was like a thrifted clothing lot for sale, and it was like, you know, pretty good price, and
Right.
you know, the price tag, I forget what it was, but we had to pull together some money. We went and did that, and bought, you know, like a bulk lot of clothes, and then posted them for sale, and things were going well. So this is probably now, you know, into my sophomore year, where I'm starting to take these accounting classes. So it was like a combination at the time of like, I have some business experience, like you know, like I said,
Yeah.
quotes, business experience.
That's experience.
Yeah,
You did.
and then, you know, learning about how to properly like account for some of these things, and it was like the timeline kind of worked out perfectly to where I was like learning about business and then kind of doing it at the same time.
Very cool.
And so it kind of added like, you know, fuel to the fire of my interest of like,
Dude, you're an animal.
no, it was
You
was
were
modest.
crushing it. What are you talking
It was
about?
modest. I mean, and
love
then
it.
I did it throughout, you know, up until my senior year of college. And you know, I got lucky. I mean, like that guy we bought all those clothes off of, who started it all for us. I stayed in contact with him. He was the man. I mean,
Cool.
he had such a smooth operation, and he liked me that I was young and I always showed up, you know, paid him in cash. I was on time, etc. Things
yeah.
like that. And he took a liking to me and would almost exclusively just go to me towards the end of it. And then, yeah, but once I knew I was going to move down here to Florida, I kind of sold it off. And I've just been, you know, focused on work and everything since then. But you know, you asked how I took a liking to accounting. That journey on top of, you know, going through the classes and everything kind of added to it. It layered out nicely. So,
Well, the next question, but I'm going to skip it because you just answered it,
Oh,
really.
yeah.
The transition into the professional world, you did it simultaneously. You left school, but you were in school doing business at the same time.
yeah.
Pardon me. We have that in common quite a bit. The fact is that while I only have a vocational degree. I did a 2-year run at a vocational school
Yeah.
and a 1-year internship. So I have 3 years in getting my education in professional photography.
Yeah.
And while I was the first 6 months in school out of a 2-year run, I opened up a business and started finding clients. I said, man, I'm not going to wait 2 years to build this.
Yeah.
They say it takes 5 to get off the ground. It actually took me 8, believe it or not. I'm a persistent little booger. And I didn't
name of the
quit.
game.
Yeah. So I got started early.
Yeah.
And I'm doing jobs. My instructor, Terry Allison is his name. He's still around. Just saw him recently. He would let me leave because it was life experience. You know, now I'm an adult. I had spent 10 years in the motion picture industry right out of high school. I'll explain that in a minute.
Yeah.
I had a business at 17.
That's awesome.
Yeah, 17 or 18. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was young. And the story behind it is, though, that the experience I got on those photo shoots for hire, and I had him to bounce everything off of before I went and did these gigs.
Yeah.
So it was kind of cool. I remember shooting food for a sushi restaurant, relatively one restaurant, but really well known locally. And they needed food, and I happened to know them through another avenue, if you will. And
Yeah.
I went to him. They asked me if I could shoot food, and I said yes. I had never photographed food in my life. So I go busting into the classroom. I had already graduated at this point,
Yeah.
and he made an assignment out of it. We go down to the culinary arts department where they're learning how to be chefs and what have you, and we did a whole food shoot, and all the other students came and all.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, they should probably update their photos because that was a long time ago. They're still using those images. So
So, you know, you did a good job though.
yeah. So, all right, you do auditing, right?
Yeah.
So, understanding the audit mindset. Let me read right out of my notes.
Yeah.
For people who don't know what auditing really is, how would you explain the purpose and importance of the work you do?
Yeah.
Well, what is it? Explain it to it. I know f-stops and shutters.
No, no.
What is auditing?
So auditing is let's take we were talking about Chick-fil-A earlier.
Right.
Let's take Chick-fil-A for example.
All right.
So
Make me
Chick-fil-A, yeah, right. The Chick-fil-A, they they sell food, right? They have, you know, they have all these expenses. You know, you got to buy the food, and then you got to pay your workers and everything. And so, Chick-fil-A hires people to produce their financial statements that say, "This is how much we sold. Here's how much we paid. Here's how much money we made at
Right.
the end." You know, and they do it some companies do it on a quarterly basis or a yearly basis, etc. So these companies, they will produce these things called financial statements, a balance, you know, which is a balance sheet, income statement, statement of cash flows, statement of stockholders' equity, etc. All fancy terms. I'm going to break it down. So these companies, they produce these financial statements, right? And for investors or people to be certain that Chick-fil-A is not lying about the numbers on their financial statements, they will hire a company like ours to say, hey, go take a look at their financial statements, develop some procedures, and make sure that they're basically telling the truth about the numbers they are reporting.
Okay.
So that's very high level. And so for each, and it's different for each business, whether what industry you're in and what they call a line item, how you will test to get comfortable that the company is not lying about the number they are reporting.
Right.
So that is auditing in a nutshell. They will hire a company like ours to say, hey, perform procedures and basically make sure that they're not, misstating what's on their financial statements. So we produce these financial statements for these users of the financial statements, which could be, typically like a bank. So if a bank is going to give a small company a loan,
right,
they'll give them a loan and say, we'll give you X amount of dollars, but you guys need to get an audit every year to make sure you guys are, one, not doing anything like illegal, and but two, to make sure that this loan is basically being put to good use and actually improving, and growing your business. So bankers will be a user of the financial statements. I mean, for a public company, which we do a couple of those, it's investors. People like you and I who can go onto a trading platform and buy stock in this public company.
Ask you a question.
Yeah.
So let's say there's a company that has serious issues.
Yes.
And maybe they're playing games with their numbers. And maybe off air, I'll tell you my story. It doesn't have to do with my photo studio, another business that I own.
I'm all ears.
But there's you would come in and do almost forensic accounting in a way.
So that is separate from what I do. Forensic accounting is like a forensic accountant is hired under the assumption that something is going on.
Right.
Most of the time, or not most, the time we are hired to just make sure everything checks out the way it should, basically, to summarize it.
And if there's a red flag, then it moves down the road to a forensic.
Yeah, for sure. Or even people at our firm, like some of the partners and everything who have been in the game long enough, they kind of know how to deal with a certain situation like that. I haven't had to really work with, I haven't really came across anything yet. I've heard people at the office talk about it, but truthfully, most of the time when we see, an error, it's just because it's not due to
unintentional.
Exactly. Yeah. Things can get tricky in that nature. And, but yeah, a forensics though. But it's funny because when I mention that or tell people that I'm an auditor, they do get it confused with being like a forensic, accountant. We're like, oh, we know you guys are up to something. We're here to crack down on you. And it's not the case.
Okay.
But so in a nutshell, that is kind of what I do as an auditor. And like I said, there's a number of different procedures we'll perform for a company in a different industry or for a different, statement on or a different line item.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I can't wait. Once the pause button is hit, I'll tell you my story.
Yeah.
I don't want it out there. It's a long story, but I'll tell it to you. It solved itself eventually, but yeah.
Moorman Photographics, where every click captures the essence of life's most precious moments. Our studio stands as a beacon of creativity and professionalism, offering a myriad of services tailored to your every photographic need. Whether you seek a studio portrait or the allure of on-location sessions in the Tampa and St. Petersburg waterfronts or lush parks, we bring your vision to life with creativity and professionalism. Corporate headshots, we excel at those too, providing impeccable quality whether in the studio or at your corporate headquarters. Need portraits for a large team or event? We orchestrate seamless setups for groups or individuals. But our expertise doesn't stop there. From high-end school portraits to photo restoration, from pet portraits to product images, our portfolio spans the spectrum of photographic artistry. Led by professionals with degrees in both photography and fine art, our team is dedicated to exceeding your expectations with every frame. Step into our studio where creativity knows no bounds. Contact us to book your session today at moormanphoto.com.
Tell me this. So it sounds like there's probably deadlines. What do you do to kind of handle the pressure of having to get that done? Numbers for me, I'm ADHD, literally, which makes me a very visual, outgoing kind of person. So I have no regrets about who I am. But to sit down and focus on numbers all day long is painful for me. But when there's pressure like that and you have to get it done by a certain date and maybe X amount of clients finished within a certain amount of time, because people above you have expectations and you know, that's normal. How do you handle that pressure?
Yeah. So this pressure you're talking about was actually the one thing I was concerned with before I started working. Was, am I going to be able to keep up, you know, with the workload basically? So a lot of these, you know, this pressure can actually be navigated early on, you know, bearing any unforeseen circumstances. A lot of this pressure can be dealt with up front. So one, it's going to be stressful regardless. I mean, you want things to work out perfectly. It's
nothing.
Right? It's not always going to happen. And especially with the nature of our business, you know, with how the layers of review and the timing of when people can actually get down and review work and you know, combine that with the clients getting you the information you need on time so you can document it. And if there's questions to go back to them, and then once you finish up your section, it's got to get reviewed and everything. So handling the pressure of a deadline, a lot of it can be handled with communication up on the front end. Being like setting clear expectations from the jump. Being like, this is when we plan to have this done, so this person can review it by then. So then if there's a problem, we can go back by then, so we can get these financial statements issued by then. Like I said, it doesn't always work out perfectly like that, but that's step one. You got to have a clear execution plan.
I'll interject. Obviously, it's not accounting, but my mentor was just here, and we talked about it. He would, let's say he did a wedding, high-end, fancy wedding, and they would ask when the album would be finished.
Yeah.
Well, a wedding is about 40 to 45 hours of a photographer's time, from sales presentation to finished album, and all the editing and digitals and all of that. And so he would tell them that it was a 4-week process, when in fact he knew it was 2, but sometimes there were hiccups. Maybe there were back orders on the albums that we would use, or maybe the lab that did the printing, we all outsourced our printing most of the time, still do. And having said that, maybe their machine went down and they got a week behind or whatever. So he would tell them longer than it really took. And then when he got it to him sooner, he looked like a hero.
That's perfect.
Right?
That's cool.
Yeah. He's like, wow, it's faster than he said it was. And, you know, and that, so he kind of set their expectations. I wonder if your company does that.
Well, in a perfect world, we'd love to do that, right? But like I said, there's so many layers of review that it has to go through. And no, I do love the concept of, what is it? Under promising and over delivering, like kind of what you just said. Certainly that does happen, but we'll try that. Obviously that's the goal in mind, but it doesn't, like I said, it doesn't always work out perfectly like that. But you know,
never done.
Just from what I've seen though, we do a good job of getting things out the door when we say. So to kind of take a step back though, communication is on the front end is one of how you deal with that pressure, and two, something that has helped me tremendously is leaving, you know, nothing on the table that's you know, up for question. So like, you know, if you're leaving work and being like, oh, I probably should have asked about that, I would do that. But now it's like, if I have a question about something, I need to make it known so we can kind of move this thing along. Because like somebody in my position, we're in the weeds. We're the one who are taking a look at all this stuff. And if there's something that's weird, it needs to get brought up. So if it is a big problem, we can ask about it. If it's not, you know, et cetera. So leaving nothing on the table by the time you leave every day is a big game changer, you know.
So communication is what I'm hearing you say is absolute key. Like summing it up is that you have to communicate with them.
Yeah. And
I agree with you.
Yeah. And another big thing is, and it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that you got to take care of yourself, man. Like when I leave work, like I said, I don't want to leave anything on the table. I want to go home and relax and be unplugged. So by the time I come in tomorrow morning, you know, after I've worked out and had, you know, everything, I'm ready to go.
You're rebooted.
Yeah,
you had a reboot. Yeah,
totally.
I get that.
Totally. So those two right there. I mean, I guess communication really is the sum of it all. And just, I guess, like I said, having belief that you can get it done, and if something does come up and it's a big problem, you know, being like, okay, you know, I can get this done, and it's just going to be a good learning experience for me.
Cool.
So
Well, and one of the things I hear, you're tackling and managing pressure. I see a lot of folks now that have trouble with that.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, I don't like it.
yeah,
But when there's a problem, I jump in with both feet head first, usually.
got to.
Because I'm just going to tackle this situation the best way I can. And if the outcome isn't good, I did everything I could.
Yeah,
And that's all you can offer.
absolutely.
So now, because the podcast is about business and life,
Yeah,
later in life, if you haven't already, you're going to add a significant other and children and all of those. So when you come home, Reboot isn't always at home.
I know.
Because there's kids hanging on you that are dying for your attention and deserve it and need it and all of that. So now you've added another factor. But if you conquer them one at a time, which you have already started, then the next level would be how to manage your relationship so that it's long lasting and you're there for your kids all the time and all of that stuff. So question that I didn't ask, are you single?
I am single.
All right, ladies, you've heard it right here. And we have the Camera Dude podcast dating platform about to get started.
Hell yeah.
Young, single, well-built, good-looking dude. He's ready for you, man.
Let's go.
All right, there you go. We'll find him. All right, hey, I'm just giving you a hard time.
No,
Yeah.
that's why I wanted to come on the show.
Well, see, I should add video to this so that, maybe my phone will light up. Hey, how do I reach this guy?
My friend was asking me yesterday. I was telling him I'm doing this, and he's like, "Is there going to be a video?" And he's like, "I was like, I don't know." I'm not. He was like, "You need to make sure you dress decent just in case." And I was like,
I plan to add video, but for the longest time, I'm foolish. I didn't know that podcasts had video because I listen on iTunes in the car. When I'm driving to my other business, it's 8.5 hours away.
Yeah.
Well, iTunes won't show you the video. Somehow the iPhone picks it up and knows that you're driving.
Yeah.
And so it shuts off the video. I didn't know there was video. I turned one on at home and I'm like, oh, look at that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So I just do audio at the moment. However, I have the cameras. They're already here. I'm going to set them up. I am a photographer. I know how to do it.
Yeah.
I'm debating because of the post-production. I just added a whole nother level of editing and audio syncing and all of that stuff that has to be done.
Yeah.
And there are platforms that do it. My producer does it, but then rates go up and, so I'm debating.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing. All right. Well, listen, I'm going to move into this because we talked about how when things get complicated, you can share a moment of something, and you kind of did, and how you manage it. You go home, you work out, you reboot, you find solace somewhere, that kind of thing. And then now, how can young professionals stand out? So from your perspective, what habits or behaviors help new professionals? We've talked about a lot of them, which is what this podcast is. But how can you help somebody just like you listening succeed early in their careers?
Yeah. A couple things come to mind. The first one is you got to be willing to work hard, which is, working, and maybe working, outside of the time frame you had in mind, like, put in the extra hours is certainly something that will get noticed.
Right.
So let's actually break this down. I'll go on the professional side and then like kind of more on a personal side. Professional side, you got to work hard. You got to understand how to make the person's job above you easier. Whether that's, in accounting, we have like a senior, and then you have a manager, and then you have the partner on the job.
Okay.
So how can you make their jobs easier? What are they looking for when they're going into review or to do their job? What can you do to help, better assist them? And so those are the two big ones: working hard, making the person's job above you easier. And I guess the third one is, and I kind of touched on it, but going above and beyond, saying yes to certain things. I mean, how we're sitting here today is me going, a result of me going above and beyond and asking my boss, like, hey, do you need help with this event? And he's like, yeah. And then, it leads to things like this. So those are the three ones on the professional side of thing that I think, young professionals, you got to be doing. And I guess 4 is like doing quality work.
Yes.
Especially in accounting, you got to do quality work. You do a good job at your job, and that might sound dumb, but
no,
it's you got to do a quality.
I agree.
Work.
I don't normally cuss, but I will tell you that I'm frustrated with people that do half-ass work.
Totally.
I call them half-assers. That's what I say.
Yeah.
And I don't normally say that, but
Yeah.
for this one incident and situation, if I hire someone and they're taking care of my lawn here at the studio or
Yeah.
putting out new plants, which we're about to do, and they come in and they do it halfway and they leave a total mess and don't finish, I can't stand that because I don't do that. And I hired you to make my building look better, not worse, or whatever the circumstance might be. So you just nailed it. And I have, to our listeners, I have a lot of young listeners and a lot of career folks that are just getting the ball rolling.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of folks like me that have been on this podcast, so they're all following as well. But I can tell you that my biggest thing that you said was you got to work hard.
Got to.
So I had a girl listen to her podcast as well on the Camera Dude podcast. It's Lindsay Vastola.
Okay.
And she's a national platform speaker. She spoke at PPA, Professional Photographers of America. I think the room was a couple thousand people. It's 30,000 members, this group.
Yeah.
About to go in January, Imaging USA. And she just hit the nail on the head with the work-life balance and quality and what it really is versus what everybody thinks it is when you're first coming out of the gate. And you just nailed it because you do reboot. You do get that time.
Yeah.
You're here on a Saturday going over and beyond, right? Go, what am I doing for my business? I'm on a Saturday where I have no bookings until much later in the day. But I came in to meet with you to produce this podcast so the world can learn. And for me, for my business, that's over and beyond what it really needs, except I want to take it farther. So you're good. I love that you said that. Work hard. So what else about that, for young professionals?
Yeah, so I touched on the professional side of things.
Yeah.
But on the personal side of things, there's a number of things you can do to just... So the question was, like, what was the question again?
No problem. Let's see. From your perspective... No, wait, let me back up. Here it is. All right, perfect. How young professionals can stand out. From your perspective, it is. What habits or behaviors help new professionals succeed in their early careers?
So I remember the gist of the question, but I wanted to make sure I asked.
Yeah.
So a big one is taking a genuine interest in people. A lot of people will come into the office and they'll say, good morning, and sit down, and they'll get started. Totally fine. I mean, some people, that's how they are. But something that I've noticed is I ask people questions. I'll dig in with questions. What did you do this weekend? How, I ask them about their significant other, their dog or something. Like taking an interest in people and then like following up with that, if I knew somebody was traveling to a place for, especially just after like Thanksgiving, a couple of my coworkers traveled back home and I was like, oh, how was travel? Any delays? How's your family? And if I know people in their family, I'm like, how was so-and-so? What were they up to? How many, et cetera, like things like that. Taking an interest in people is big.
You're singing my song. You really are,
man.
Just because I used to, during COVID, I did an online course for the Tampa area professional photo group. We couldn't meet in person. I'd say, I'll do this thing. And it was about networking. And it was actually CARE. That was the title. And what are you talking about? I said, I don't go to a networking meeting and hand out as many business cards as possible and have that my goal. I would rather have really deep 5 good conversations where I find out about them. If they hand me their business card, when I walk away, I write all the details on the back of it, or I put it into my phone and text myself or whatever. And then when I come back, I'll email them. It's great talking with you. Let me know how I can help you with your son's schooling or whatever it is they're going through. That was a made-up scenario. But actually care and don't do it to get something out of it. Just do it, and the rest falls into place. Yeah,
that's perfect, because that's like that was the second part I was going to say, is like, I've always been a natural question ask. Like, I'll ask, even going back to when I was young, I would always ask people questions, and then just like every time I saw them, I would just keep following up about it. So like, it's with me, it's like it was just natural. Like I didn't have any reservations or intentions or anything. It's just how I was. And as I've gotten older, I look back I'm like, maybe why did this go so well with this one person, or and I'm like, well, it's because they so, I guess I don't want to say they liked me, but like,
they did. Yeah. Well, and let me interject in that there are some people that are born where they're not on the front line. They don't have that personality. You and I, we look for the limelight. I don't mean it. I'm not a narcissist. I'm just an outgoing, energetic, loving people person. Yeah. So
100%.
in photography, I'll find people that say, hey, I don't really like people, so I just want to do product photography. But as an instructor, when I taught, my question always was, well, who owns that product? Who's managing the company that makes it? Oh, it's all people.
Yeah.
And they're going to come to you with likes, desires, their own outlooks, deadlines, timelines, complications with pricing, whatever it might be. And you're going to have to talk to people. So I like to say, and I'm not picking on those because I have plenty of friends that are quiet like that. But what you have to do is force yourself and train yourself to take off the quiet hat and put on the hat. And don't be fake, but just force yourself to do it at least long enough. And if it wears you out, you go to a networking event, you go for a short stint. And then you get out. Me, it energizes me. I'm there until I'm the last guy, right? Leaving and talk to everybody in the room or whatever. You're the same. So I just wanted to say that. So if you're a little more quiet, unfortunately, what we're talking about is kind of key for good success.
Definitely.
And so you force yourself through the things you don't like, which is part of the I'm working hard to make this happen scenario. Anyhow.
And like I said, I mean, that's just what's kind of worked for me. I totally have seen people who are more quiet by nature, be incredibly successful. And even just personally and just from what I've seen, reading about, successful, success stories of people across the board in any discipline, it's totally possible. But, I'm just kind of touching on what has worked for me. So
cool. All right, couple more questions. I hate to wrap it up, but that old clock is always ticking away.
No, it's all good.
So we'll jump through. And actually, the last couple we've already seen. So I'm going to ask you this, and then we'll go into a fun part of the podcast.
Let's do it.
Where do you hope your career leads over the next 5 to 10 years? Are there specific certifications, specialties, or roles you're aiming for? Say them loud so your boss hears them.
Yeah, right. Where I would like to be in 5 to 10 years. To summarize it, I want to be in a position where I can maximize my potential. Nice. Use my skills and my knowledge and my personality to the absolute fullest, whether that's, wherever. That's like the overarching theme. I want to apply myself to the fullest. And like I said, I don't know where that's at. I mean, 2 years ago, I would have never guessed that I would be here. I mean, 2 years ago, moving here to Florida was never even on my radar.
Right.
So, I understand that life can change and so many new opportunities can come your way, at the drop of a dime or a pen, So I would love to just be in a situation where I am utilizing or maximizing my potential, wherever that's at.
Cool. That's good. All right. I love that. That's a good answer, actually.
Yeah. And I would love to, that's on the professional side of things. And then I would love to just be, happy, healthy,
Yeah.
And I would love for my, happy, healthy, in shape, doing my thing.
Okay.
That's where I'd like to be at in 5
that'll
to 10
work.
years. Absolutely.
Right, perfect. Well, let's jump into the fun part.
Let's
These
do it.
questions are designed by a gentleman named Bernard Pivot.
Okay.
And were made famous again by a gentleman named James Lipton. He was a famous acting teacher and also had a TV show called Inside the Actor's Studio.
Yeah.
And he would interview all these famous people. Go find it on YouTube. It's fascinating.
I got you.
Actually. And so I took all of these questions except for one because it's usually what's your favorite curse word? And I never curse except on this one. I did. Hey, how about that? Oh, well, my friends will know that I'm real at least.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite word?
My favorite word? I have no idea. It's probably a cuss word.
I love it.
My favorite word. Oh,
I dumped him. Yes.
Well, what's your favorite word?
My favorite word is energy. I just like it. Whatever I do, I'm always pushing forward and moving forward quickly, and I never stop.
This is a question that I've genuinely never thought about.
Okay.
What my favorite word is. I'm trying to think, like, what comes to mind is, like, what's a word I use the most, but that's, like, it'd be
well, and you get a lot, and you don't have to answer it if you don't have one off the top of your head. We'll put it in the comments when this comes live.
It'll come to me.
But a lot of folks will say, I don't like the word no. Especially successful people.
Yeah.
I hear that a lot on this podcast. It surprised me how many times I've heard that. And because for me, I was told that this isn't a business.
Yeah.
Now, I was in an association of people that were quite successful in photography, but everybody outside of the industry, can you make a living at that? Because it's one of those businesses where it can be a hobby or a profession, kind of like playing guitar. You're either a rock star or you're some guy that plays for your kids at home or maybe at your church or whatever, and different levels. And I said, yeah, I'm taking this all the way. This is what I want. So, well, you may not have this answer. What's your least favorite word?
My least favorite word. My least favorite word is probably no.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I have no idea. I've never thought about either of these questions before. My least favorite word.
Yeah, they make you think. That's why I chose them.
Yeah. I know, honestly, something I do struggle with is thinking off the top of my head. Like, when I get stumped, it takes me a second. I'll come up with a good answer, but it takes me a second. I'll figure those out. I'm thinking about the first one, and you can bleep this out. My favorite word is probably motherfucker.
All right, there you go. There is the explicit on my podcast.
I was going to say, like, it's always, when you're using that word, you're fired up in some way.
That's okay. Hey, did you hear it, friends? That wasn't me. That was my guess.
Yeah.
All right.
I use that word frequently, like in a playful sense, and something. I don't even know if I use it in a malicious sense, but it's playful. That's why it's my favorite word.
All my church friends just deleted the listen button now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll be there on Sunday.
All right.
Yeah.
It shows that we're real and that we're human.
Yeah.
And
100%.
so, I'll make my decisions whether we beep or leave that. We'll see. Or we'll shorten it to just MF. How's that?
MF.
All right. So in life, what turns you on? What excites you?
What turns me on and excites me in life?
He's hating these questions, I can tell.
No. I'm thinking about them. I'm wanting to give a good answer because I this one is something I have thought about. What excites me? Something that excites me, and I get a lot of joy from it, and is doing, air quotes, cool things with people I love. Okay. So I'm taking a trip with some friends or family members. Experiencing something cool together is something that really excites me, whether it's like, it could be as simple as like getting a nice meal somewhere at a nice restaurant with a nice view, a sunset, something like that. Or, it can be something like you and your boys are golfing together and you hit a good golf shot and it's, a foot from the pin. Okay. So things like that, that's what excites me the most. It's things that I can almost recall just like that.
Because you're passionate about that.
Yeah, man.
So that's what excites you. So the next question, for sake of time, is obviously opposite of that. What turns you off in life?
What turns me off? Negativity.
Yeah.
Just pessimistic, people who won't even give anything a chance.
I love it.
That's, to me, it gets me so worked up that I don't even try and negotiate with them. I'm like, all right, if that's how you feel, then that's how you feel.
Sometimes people are negative because something bad has happened.
Totally.
But then there's people that carry that negativity around every day. And I'm like, dude, you're killing me. What's going on?
Yeah. So that's my biggest turnoff is when somebody is a real pessimist. Obviously, everybody can be at times. When somebody's a real pessimist and they're like a negative Nelly all the time.
Right.
Man, I don't want to be around you.
I like a challenge. Yeah. I don't know why. This is me. I'm a little ornery. When I find somebody like that, I work 10 times as hard with them to get them to like me.
Yeah.
I can't help it. It's just what I do. Somebody says, oh, that person, I stay away. And I said, no, I go the other way. Yeah. Because I can't touch their life and help them or change their life or minister to them if I'm not in their circle and I just walk away. I haven't helped someone. So I'll give you that challenge. I don't like it either. Yeah. I agree with you. But now that you're going into it with that mindset of a goal of maybe helping lead that person to a brighter place, right? And like you and I talked about our faith or whatever, and something that'll help them find peace and maybe get rid of all that burdens, we can do that. Now, if they continue on after you've done that for a while, well, then you just back off. Yeah. You don't leave in an ugly way. You just pull back and go, okay. But I love that challenge. I don't know what it is. If somebody doesn't like me, I'm going to work so hard that they have to. And now people know that, so they're just going to walk away. But hey, what can I say? Yeah. What sound or noise do you love?
Do I love?
Yeah. Could be anything. Sound of a friend laughing, music, whatever.
Right now, like I told you, I'm obsessed with the golf. When you hit a pure golf shot, the way it sounds is unbelievable. That's one. When the cha-ching is always a good one. When you get like a deposit or something.
Oh yeah. I like that. Those are always good.
But no, I guess what sound do I love the most? When I work out, I listen to like music that has like the bass is going. Something about the bass
Keeps you moving.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, it fires me up for sure.
Same here. I've got to go on what I do, power walking. I don't run anymore, but I still
Yeah.
walk like crazy.
Yeah.
I try to do 10,000 steps a day, 5 days.
Same here.
All right, good. Hey, we're in the same game.
Let's do
so
it.
when I leave here, I'm changing clothes, going downtown, and going for it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of fun. I'll tell you, I've never played golf. Really quick. I have photographed 1 million golf tournaments. Not literally, I'm exaggerating, but a ton. And the biggest one was the Archie Griffin Golf Classic, where he had all these famous sports players come in, and people would pay money to play with these guys. And,
Yeah.
you know, it was a shotgun start, all of that.
Yeah.
And I would do group photos. I fell in love with golf because all I saw were these guys smoking cigars, having drinks, and riding around in golf carts. I thought, this is kind of cool, except I would have to learn the game, too.
Yeah.
So I didn't do that. All right. What sound or noise do you dislike? We talked about that already.
I really hate the sound of a fire alarm going off. There was a fire at my apartment a couple of nights ago. There was I had to wait outside for like 2 hours, but I hate it. That's why I knew it immediately. That sound, that's the one that comes to mind. Anything like high pitched like that.
Yeah,
I
it's
can't.
pretty jarring.
Yeah, or I don't like people yelling either.
Me either.
Yeah, I don't like people yelling.
I love the fact that people have freedom to protest. I'm not saying they're wrong, but I don't like the turmoil of people on all sides of the street screaming and shouting, and everybody's in disarray. It actually brings me to tears because I don't like the division. Mm-hmm. It really bothers me. So do they have the right? Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not picking sides here. It's either side. I don't care who it is. It could be my own side.
Yeah.
They're out protesting. I don't like it. Let's have a conversation instead of screaming at each other. I don't know what that is. It makes me crazy. What profession other than your own would you like to attempt? Is there anything else out there?
What profession other than my own
I
would
could
I
see
like?
you be a professional trainer.
You think so?
Yeah.
A couple of my friends are professional trainers. They like it. I mean, it's definitely an interesting business model. And it probably wouldn't really feel like work, air quotes.
It's hard to make money, though.
Yeah. But, with anything worthwhile, once you go through those first couple of years of working hard and making a name for yourself, personal trainer, that's certainly one. I would love to be a professional athlete, but that probably won't happen at this point in my life.
Yeah, it might. You never know.
I don't know.
Professional golf, maybe?
Yeah. Being a business owner would be cool one day.
Okay.
Maybe some in sales. But yeah, that's the thing. That's what comes to mind right now. Like I said, you asked me what my plan was for the next 5 to 10 years. Anything I believe there's a lot of things I can do.
Cool.
And wherever it maximizes my potential and is fulfilling, that's where I'll be at.
I love it. I like jobs that are fulfilling, maximizing potential,
Totally.
and also I love providing something for others. In my industry, at least in the portrait realm, even in the commercial work, if you're running a business and our images are helping you sell your products, images of products or headshots or whatever it is, I feel like I've helped that company move forward, put their best face out there, put their product out there in a way that's going to help move it. And the same in portraiture. Quick story, the lady in my networking group, I won't mention her name, but I had photographed her entire family. She had elderly parents and they're gone now. And she always tells me how she loves seeing those images on her wall of her parents that are no longer with her. So I was able to leave something for her that was a legacy for her parents, actually, but I was the conduit to make that imaging happen. So it was kind of cool. Well, so for the Camera Dude podcast dating platform, how can somebody, if you want to give this out, how can they find you? Maybe an email, maybe somebody wants to work with the company you work for. How can they find you? Or maybe they just want to go out for a coffee. Who knows?
Okay. So if anyone wants to find the company I work for, it's Fraser and Dieter.
Big company.
Larger company. We're growing. We're growing. We've actually acquired a couple firms here in the past several months, trying to expand our presence across the Sun Belt, as I believe is what they call it.
Okay.
So Fraser and Dieter is the company I work for. LinkedIn for professionally is a good way to connect. So, Hunter Seagraves, that's Hunter, and then Seagraves. So professionally, that's where you can connect with me. Ladies, check out my Instagram, which is @Seagraves_.
I'll clean him up, ladies. We'll get rid of the cussing and we'll get him swift.
Yeah.
Actually, you're a great, handsome young man.
Thank
You're
you.
doing very well. You're fighting the fight.
Most
You
definitely.
have God. But okay, so you're also real. I'm okay with all of that because life is what it is.
Yeah.
I never put on a fake front, and I realize you haven't either.
Hey, man.
I hate to close because we could go on for hours.
No, it's totally fine. man.
But maybe what we'll do is a round 2 in a couple of months.
Yeah.
We'll have you back or whatever
Yeah.
and kind of follow up and see where things are doing. So let me do my close. Thanks for doing that. They can find you on LinkedIn. That's the place to be.
Yep.
And Instagram for anybody that's looking for a nice, young, single, motivated man that's got his head on straight. If you ask the camera dude, I would think so anyway.
Absolutely.
So, Hunter, thanks for being here today.
Yep.
So, listeners, I love you guys. I'm glad you're with us. And thanks for hanging out with us on the Camera Dude podcast. Remember, always reach out to those who've paved the way ahead of you. They are a great resource. Until next time, stay safe, be peaceful, and always look up for directions in life.
Thanks for tuning in to the Camera Dude Podcast. Don't forget to visit us at cameradudepodcast.com for more episodes and exclusive content. Connect with Rob Moorman on moormanphoto.com to explore his professional photography. And when you're ready to hit the road, make memories at sunburstrvresort.com. Until next time, keep capturing moments and chasing dreams. See you on the next episode of the Camera Dude Podcast.